Once upon a darker time in our history, a building was born. It was May of 1924. I think that makes it a Taurus. When the cornerstone was placed on Clavern 101 at North Main Street in Fort Worth, Texas. 6 months later, it was bombed. Or maybe it was just arson. Too many Grand Dragons? Whatever the case, the meeting hall burned. It was rebuilt, this time even bigger, and reopened on Friday, June 5th, 1925. It only housed the Klan for 2 more years, when it was sold to Leonard Brothers department store for use as a warehouse. By 1929, it was called the North Main Auditorium and had changed ownership again, hosting dance marathons, Golden Glove boxing matches, and professional wrestling. In 1946, it became the Ellis Pecan Company, and for 45 years it operated as such. But when they moved in the 90s to another location, the building sat abandoned and has been that way ever since. Take a walk with us around this historic building, learn some more about its storied past, and discuss what the future may hold, plus a special appearance by Mel Gibson. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon to get new video updates. We got a late start this day, so while the sun was being replaced by clouds and a slight drizzle was starting, our window of opportunity to explore the building empty of the homeless who currently shelter there was closing. When we walked up, there was a homeless gentleman sitting outside. We talked with him for a bit, inquiring if he knew the best way to get inside and if there was anyone inside that he knew of. After giving him some money for his time and information, he decided to be our tour guide. He told me his name was Mel Gibson. Then he grabbed his backpack, a 5-iron, and a beer, and we headed inside. Standing outside does not really do the building justice. Once inside, you can really see just how massive it is. This is the second building to stand on this spot. The first was somewhat smaller, built to hold 2,000 people in its auditorium. It opened in May of 1924 as a meeting hall for the Ku Klux Klan. In October of 1924, Harry Houdini performed here. It was the second time he had been into the area. During his performance, he asked, "Can the dead speak to the living?" A month later, in November of 1924, the building was destroyed. A nearby plaque states that the building was destroyed by a homemade bomb dropped from an airplane. Some dispute that, saying that the building caught fire and arson was never proven. Old plaques never lie, right? Maybe those people saying it was just a random fire are the ones that started it. Conspiracy. 6 weeks after the fire, on December 26, 1924, the Klan celebrated the first 18 months of leadership by Julian C. Heyer. During that celebration, they unveiled plans to rebuild the Lodge Hall. Whichever was the case for its destruction, on June 5, 1925, the building reopened, designed by architect Earl Glasgow and built by B.B. Adams. The building was even bigger, this time seating 4,000. 2 years later, in 1927, the Klan's membership was dwindling, and the building was sold to Leonard Brothers Department Store for use as a warehouse. In 1929, the building sold again to an entertainment company whose claim to fame was hosting insane dance marathons. I mean, bonkers long marathons. Like these folks, Mickey Sheehan and Jesse Holman, who won after a 1,537-hour marathon dance. 1,537 hours, y'all. That is 64 days of bananas dancing. The building was also going by a new name, the North Main Street Auditorium. In the 1930s, after every dancer in North Texas was hospitalized for exhaustion, that's a joke, the auditorium began hosting wrestling matches and Golden Glove boxing matches sponsored by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Then, in 1946, Lonnie Ellis purchased the building to house his family business, Ellis Pecan Company. The family business was passed down at this location for the next 45 years, when, in 1991, the building was sold to a Missouri firm and Ellis Pecan moved to a new location. The building has sat abandoned ever since. Mel Gibson, which was probably not his real name, told me that the building is scary at night and he does not like to go in there. In fact, I'm not sure he would have gone in at all if we had not been with him. He didn't have a flashlight, so I let him have mine just in case he decided he did want to venture in after dark. And we found several places people have been camping out in the building, complete with scorch marks from their fires, plus some interesting and intact old offices. There is quite a bit of space that is empty and doesn't appear to be used. I mean, granted, used by homeless people, but still used. This is also the areas that are pitch black and natural light does not reach. It would be easy to get lost in here. For the most part, and if we ignore the roof or lack thereof, the bones of the building seem to be in good shape. I could see it coming back to life with enough money and vision. Key being enough money. According to our tour guide Mel, at different times the building has been used by random gangs as a hangout or whatever gangs do. And apparently, Honduran Ginger is one of them. They do not have an affiliated Facebook group page, a Wikipedia or subreddit, so I'm just going to take Mr. Gibson's word on that. I did find a recipe for Honduran ginger cake, which I will be making very soon. I'm sure Honduran ginger, the gang, is very scary and murdery. However, I'm struggling with the image of some redheaded guy trying to avoid sunlight with his pale, pale ginger skin. This is just more proof that my imagination sees every gang as either a shark or a jet. West Side Story is the bee's knees, y'all. The building coming back into use has been debated due to its ugly beginnings. However, there have been several proposals for turning it into a community center based on healing or an art center. Hopefully they are successful. They just don't make buildings like this anymore. It's beautiful, despite its current state of disrepair. Or maybe because of it. Minus the dirty needles, of course. According to multiple sources, this is the last known former KKK meeting hall still standing in the United States. And for several years now, the building has been listed on Historic Fort Worth's Most Endangered Properties list. Some have advocated for its destruction, though the execution date has recently been postponed. While I understand that the origins are ugly, the building's almost 100-year history reaches a lot further than the 3 years it spent under KKK ownership. There are several groups that have proposed other uses for the site, including an international center for the performing arts and community healing. It is my hope that they are successful and the building can remain standing. It is sad how many old buildings are razed to make way for new buildings that don't have any of the character or history that buildings like this have etched into every brick.